Hi, my name's Faye and I just raced across Scotland. The race across Scotland is 215 miles along the Southern Upland Way, starting in Portpatrick and finishing in Coburn's Path. But the race itself ends up being just over 220 miles because the checkpoints are located off the route. So you kind of have to go out and back along the way. There are 12 checkpoints along the way. The first 2, you cannot have crew access. Checkpoint 7, you can't have crew access either, but there's various exit and entry points where the trail meets the road and you can have crew support you along the way there. I definitely had struggles along the way, starting around checkpoint 2, which is very early on in the race. I had a really tight hip flexor for the first couple of miles, which usually happens on most races. And I know I can overcome it, so that went away pretty early on. And then my calves seized around checkpoint 2. So when I came into checkpoint 3, I was in a lot of pain. I strategized with that by putting on compression socks. And then my calves seemed to get better as the race was going on, which was great. But there was a lot of power hiking early on, which I didn't really want to do. And then around checkpoint 5, I sprained my ankle going into the second night, which meant that I ran about 200 kilometers with a sprained ankle. My feet have been better. They've seen better days. Yeah, they're pretty rough. I have a lot of blisters. My feet were pretty wet for the most part of the race. And because I only had 1 pair of compression socks and I needed my calves to not seize again, my feet ended up being wet for a lot of the race. So that just included hot spots and, you know, lots and lots of blisters, which once I treated once, I kind of just left for the remainder of the race. But that mixed in with rolling my ankle too, my feet are terrible. I'm actually on antibiotics right now to try and recover them. Some of the high points, so back in 2023, I attempted to race across Scotland and I made it to checkpoint 12 before I got really sick and I had to do not finish. So yeah, I had to leave the race. And back then I was running about 10 hours faster than this year. So I got to see a lot of the race course during the daytime this time rather than the night. So it was cool to get a different perspective of the trail. A lot of the high points was coming across my crew, them bringing supplies and just a good morale, just to boost me when I was on my lows, which was quite often with the condition of my feet and my ankle. Yeah, and just being out there with all the other runners as well and knowing that we're all doing the same thing and putting ourselves out there to accomplish like a big distance. There's a really good sense of community and, you know, a lot of familiar faces from 2023 and a lot of faces who've popped up through social media over the couple of years who have followed along, and yeah, everyone's just rooting for each other out there, which is really nice. And of course the scenery, like you're racing across Scotland. I live in Canada, like I don't get to see this amount of like rolling hills and heather bushes, and yeah, it's beautiful. GB Ultras is a UK company. They put on a bunch of different events, with the biggest one being the Race Across Scotland. It's a fantastic team. There's Wayne, who I think owns the company, and then there's a couple of other race directors like Ian and Laura and a bunch of volunteers, and they just put on the most well executed races. They're a fantastic bunch. They work as hard as the runners, even harder, to be at every checkpoint, smiling. Like, the morale is there from, picking up race package pickup on a Friday, right through to the end of the race. So yeah, they're a dream team. Yeah, so there's a couple of significant ones on here. A few of them are just for fun. But the Plan Faye one came from my friend Bree. So originally I was coming back to, be in that competitive headspace, and I wanted to race it. And then after giving it some thought and chatting it through with like my friends and my family, and then dealing with a couple of injuries leading up to the race, I was going through like different plans. So, plan A would be to race, plan B would be to see how the race was going and maybe like take it easy the first half and race the second half, and plan C was like, oh my god, shit's hit the fan, I am gonna have to walk the whole thing. So I was going through these different scenarios, and my friend Bree was like, how about you just go with Plan Faye, and that means whatever happens on the day, you just roll with it. And I really love that. I think that's a great piece of advice to take through to every single race in the future. So that's the significance of that one. And then my partner has two beautiful girls, and they love making bracelets, so they made me a Just Move one, which is literally what I did, especially with all the feet issues and the ankle sprain. All I had to keep doing was putting one foot in front of the other, so that if that meant I could run, great. If that meant I had to power hike, then that was fine. And knowing me, if I had to crawl, I would have been crawling too. I think in 2023, I was egotistic. I, found out that I was coming first or second within the first couple of checkpoints. And even though back then I was doing the race to complete it, once I found out I was high up there, it was game on and I became a competitor. And between first, second and third, we switched places, we overtook each other, we fell back, but there was always a continuous competition going on, which did lead me to push harder. Maybe I didn't, take in enough calories or water, or, a lack of sleep as well, just because I continuously wanted to be moving ahead. So I think this time around, I knew I wanted to finish it. Like, I didn't want to come back a third time and start on the start line. So this time around, it was much more intrinsic. I wanted to go out there with a solid nutrition plan and make sure I was continuously staying hydrated, and having at least 6 hours or more of sleep, and not being afraid to hike. As long as I just kept moving forward, like, I was okay with that. And I made it across the finish line, so it worked.
303 kilometers in on the third night. And probably gonna finish on the fourth night. Oh man, it's been a rough go, but we're getting it done, each step at a time.
Oh, that's a good question. I am still trying to wrap my head around what I just accomplished. I'm very tired and obviously dealing with some pains and aches. But I really would like to accomplish the Spine Race, which is the 268 mile up the Pennine Way. And coming from Canada, I'd like to do it in winter. I don't know when that will be, but that's definitely on the horizon at some point. I am in pain.